Perfect Route. I'm Dr. Bill Sodeman, and my guest today is Riya Sood. Hello, Riya.
Hi, Bill. How are you doing?
Doing great. Glad to see you here. Could you
Same.
tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Riya Sood. I'm former CHRO for a technology company called OpSec Security. I have been in HR for 2 decades now, enabling organizations through their inflection point, managing integrations, M&A, scaling up the leadership capabilities across US, EMEA, Southeast Asia, India. And I'm very proud and humbled to be on this podcast today to answer some questions that can be helpful for the HR community. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. We're so happy to have you here. Um, and I was wondering how did you get pulled into HR in the first place? What called you into the profession?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's been like long time, 2 decades. I started counting, stopped counting after 20 years. So it's been like more than 20 years in HR. But what really drew me to HR was the realization which when I was working through the organization, different and diverse industries, whether it was financial services, it was technology, it was consulting companies, the realization that strategy only works when people can actually execute it. You can have a beautiful presentation, but if that doesn't make a needle movement, then that strategy is not very helpful for the organization. I keep the same pattern all these years, and I see the strategies fail when leaders are not equipped and able to understand the why behind it. So I think HR really helps organization and leaders at large to understand the why behind the strategy, and then it's
Mhm.
really helpful to execute that. And that's wherein HR becomes a really true partner and not just a support function.
That's excellent. And there's always that piece in the value chain that labels HR as a support function, but partnership has become more and more of a focus of organizations as they realize some of the things that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Um, and I'm going back to the why portion of your question,
Yeah.
um, because a lot of organizations, you get people in there who are asking, why are we doing this?
Why are we doing
Yeah.
exactly? And I think this perspective only has evolved over the years, wherein HR is becoming more and more a partnership and not a support function. I see learning and development, compensation benefits, talent management, all being levers for transformation at the organizations. It enables leaders to navigate through change, whether it's through an acquisition or it's through, the growth, that organic growth that they're going through. So whatever it is, I think the true partnership really makes a difference
Mhm.
for organizations being successful.
Yeah, it's that partnership piece when it's fully expressed and it's genuine that, builds a lot of value.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure
Um,
everybody will agree with that. The
okay,
HR leaders. Yeah.
yeah. What's a recent initiative that highlighted or captured the strategic potential of HR for you?
Sure. I mean, there have been so many initiatives in past many years, but the recent one that resonates well with me is a good example wherein we approached the leadership capability during our recent integrations. At OPSEC, we had like a few integrations in the last few years, and every time it was important that we built the leadership capability because it helped us with retention, it helped us with talent management, it helped us with engagement. We built a structured learning and development framework that combined leadership alignment, role clarity through our internal job architecture, through our LMS systems, making sure providing them a great onboarding experience. It's very important when someone joins your organization, whether it's through an acquisition or if they're just, being hired into a job, that they get a good joining experience. That makes a huge difference. And that's what we really capitalized on in the recent integrations. It really made the other folks coming from the other side, like as if they're joining a company and not that they're being acquired and now things will certainly like definitely change for them. It was all a very good initiative. It really helped us in making sure that the associates are well engaged. They are well kind of glued to the larger and the big picture and the goal of the organization. And it was very successful. So embedding L&D leadership capability in your business model is something that we did in the recent integrations, and that was really helpful in making them successful integrations.
That's great. I was a chief learning officer for a while, and one of the things I focused on was that integration. Um, and it's tempting to focus on the platform or the learning management system and try to figure out uh, how those can move the needle. But without executive support, anything that you do to improve content or platform or even facilitation isn't going to make too much of a difference.
That's right. Absolutely. You're absolutely spot on. You have a lot of experience in HR too. Looks like you have gained by talking to so many leaders over time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a few years in HR, either, running non HR departments, but I had to hire people, or in learning and development, I reported to HR. So,
Okay. Great. Great. That's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you measure learning impact? What really matters to executives?
I think what really matters to executives is that learning is not done in isolation and learning
Mhm,
habits are not measured in isolation. They really want to know how learning is changing the behavior and how it's bringing improvements. So as HR leader, I focus on few key insights, which is performance improvement,
mhm,
time to productivity, readiness, retention of critical talent. Is really learning making all these different? For example, did the sales capability or sales performance improved with any sales training? Did the leadership brand strength improve with the leadership capability training? So it's not just about completion rates, it's about the impact that training brings in over a period of time. So
mhm.
that I feel is very important. It's very important for HR leaders to measure that. And that's what really interests the executives at core, that is it really making a difference? Is it really bringing an improvement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some metrics like ROI don't tell the full story, of course. You have to look at several different metrics, but you know, starting with engagement, but in completion doesn't really tell you if people have learned anything.
Right. And especially during, things like integrations, which I just mentioned, because I have led quite a few in past 4 or 5 years. It's not just about making sure that, oh, 50 people or 100 people have done the onboarding training. It's about, do they really understand? Do they really know who is the HR person they need to reach out if they have a question? Who is the IT person they need to reach out if there's an IT help that they need? Where are the policies sitting? Which are the programs that they are accessible to them? So that really makes a difference. That is it really bringing some impact to the lives of the associates and the business leaders?
Yeah. Yeah, having those reach outs really does help. Um, one of the challenging things that I found in learning and development was building those relationships and maintaining them,
Right.
especially if you've got a large organization.
Correct.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, um,
And large organizations, maybe commenting a little bit more around geographies, they have their footprint in different countries and different geographies. It's very important that training is and learning is accessible to all those folks.
mhm,
A lot of times we would have our programs on LMS in local languages because it's people who are working in Europe or in Southeast Asia, in other countries in Europe, they resonate or they learn better if some training is in their language. So that's very important to make sure that we have good penetration around training.
Hmm.
So accessibility of the training is also very important, and needs to reach everybody, and they should be able to understand it in a very simple way and bring that difference to their work or whatever they are doing, like, and also becoming better leaders over a period of time or better managers.
Yeah, and I hear you on the accessibility piece. Because at the end of the day, we want to retain employees and help them level up their skills
Right,
in leadership, communication, teamwork, and managing as well.
right,
Um,
right.
and I find that the managing is one area where younger employees need more help now than ever. Uh,
Yes,
you know, we've got a group of young managers who were in college during the pandemic, had a completely different education experience than we can ever imagine.
yeah. It's very digital now. It's AI, that is making a lot of difference. So yes, it's completely changed over the last few years on how learning or was managed before and now. And I'm 100% sure that's going to change in future as well. So we
Oh
have
yeah.
to we have to keep pace with that changing trend. Yeah. What what one thing that I firmly believe is that when learning fits naturally, adoption follows organic.
Mhm.
If it's not fitting in your natural day or your routine, then it's more like forced training. But if it's like, okay, fine, I have, this half an hour, maybe just let's go on LMS and do a self-learning course, or there's I'm in sales and negotiation skills is very important for me. um, I'm an analyst, and communication skills is very important for me. So when it fits naturally, adoption becomes more organic.
Mhm. Yeah, and we want that to continue, because forcing people to do training just doesn't work as we know.
Yeah.
Um, people people need to want to learn as much as they need to learn.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and, you know, and going back to your discussion about accessibility, we have to remove the barriers that might be in place, whether it's language or time schedules or other things in order to give people the right opportunities to learn on their schedule.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Ex-
yeah, and even in the ways they wanna learn, which
Yes.
yeah, which means we have to be a lot more flexible than we used to be with learning and development.
Yes. That's true. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're just absolutely spot on and understand that how it is, especially in different geographies, people working in different time zones and things like that. So we have to keep that in mind as well and make it easier for them to learn.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. How does this affect mandatory training?
So mandatory training, I think is more, whenever I hear that word, it's more like compliance training for me.
Right.
And it's more for governance because, yeah, we have to do that. There are certain um, local regulations in each country which we need to follow, and we are supposed to provide that training over to the associates as a requirement. So I feel it's more like a governance that we follow when it comes to compliance or mandatory trainings.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, at the same time, mandatory training's got some pieces that play into leadership programs and career pathways. You gotta, show that you're you're competent. You gotta show that you know that your field or domain, and in that, showing what you know, can unlock some leadership development opportunities for people.
true. And I think it's important to separate leadership training from compliance training because
Mhm.
leadership training is, we have to be very intentional to create the programs around leadership training. Now, it could be a manager essentials training for new managers coming on board, whether we are hiring them or bringing them externally or we are promoting them internally. It could be more like executive training for senior leaders in the organization because we are getting them ready for succession planning. So it's really more targeted, it's more customized, and it helps everyone over their career journey. So whether somebody has just started working or it's been 10 years, they're already working and they have a lot of experience. So what is it that we can do more and differently for them to make training very relevant for them? Very, again, going back to my earlier comment that what is it that learning is helping the individual and the organization? Is it making a difference?
Hmm.
If it's not making a difference, then it's really not of much interest to either, which is neither to the employee or the organization, because it's really people see when it's impacting in either their productivity or in their growth. And then for business leaders, it's about what is the impact on our revenue growth? What is our impact on our retention? If retention improves, we have to hire less. It's kind of a cycle. So that's wherein I feel uh, well structured leadership training is very different from a compliance training.
Hmm. Yeah, and they do have to be different pieces in order to be successful. Um, where do you? It, it leads into another question. If you could blow up and start from scratch HR over again, how would you do it?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think there are a lot of good things that have happened over the past years, and it's ever evolving. Maybe if we talk after 2 years, things would be different in certain aspects. But yeah, I would say if I can, or if we really have to make the potential outcomes different, it's important to embed HR and learning as an integrated functions and not separate functions. So learning and development should not be seen as a separate, isolated function running away from the core HR or the HR operation.
Mhm.
It has to be an integrated function and they have to work together to bring that impact to the business. So whether it's performance evaluations, it's career progression discussions, it's giving constructive feedback anywhere, or it's improving productivity. So in all these areas, learning can make a real difference when it's with the HR operations. Maybe there is, just for example, there is someone in UK, a manager who needs help with how do I give constructive feedback to this person in my team, or how can I have a great career progression discussion with my high potential, and the HR is there, but HR can absolutely partner with the L&D person in the team, and they can together equip the manager to have those great conversations and make it very strategic. I think it's very important, to my earlier point, to HR to be a partner to business, to the leaders, and not just work in isolation, having their own. The agenda, the goals, and the targets have to be together, aligned in alignment.
Mhm.
So that's where I think HR makes a difference. I think HR operating as a strategic advisor, helping building leadership capability, managing the change period if organization is going through the change, is when it becomes a partner in true sense.
Okay. Yeah, and uh, I find that more organizations are recognizing the strategic potential of partnership, even though about half of training operations aren't necessarily contained in HR. But that gives you opportunities to build relationships across departments,
You're right.
which is essential. Um, one thing I hate to see is learning and development shops or HR departments that are just sort of isolated from the business. Um, because then, you know, it, for me, it's almost a culture and trust issue.
Right. Right.
Um, so let's see. What are some things that HR departments can do to help build up trust in an organization?
I think first is complete alignment in what are the values or the mission of the organization. So HR leaders have to be in complete alignment and in partnership with the business leaders on what are the values that we're trying to drive as an organization. What is our mission? What is the mission critical statement of the organization?
Hmm.
To your point that culture, that's where the culture and the trust comes in. So that's very important from at the core or at the foundation that they are in complete alignment. Second, I feel it's very important to communicate. So to communicate to each other, whether it's a good news or a bad news, whatever the case may be, it's important to have that flow of communication and that should not stop. That's wherein that trust comes in, which you mentioned, that
Hmm.
it's about culture and it's about trust. I think when these pillars are strong and they form as a great foundation for that relationship to get evolved. And it's not just a relationship for a day, it is ever evolving. It's every day. You have to keep building on that relationship every day to make it more consistent and more sustainable. That's what I feel
Okay.
in HR.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, and
Yeah,
people in the organization not only need to know that relationship is there and possible, but it's essential for what they do.
all right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very essential. Going back to my first point, that to understand the why are we doing this? And then
Mhm.
the hows, that, how will we do this together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Anything you wanted to add as we get towards the end of our conversation?
Yeah, I mean, it was great conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me, and of course, all the great questions. And I hope certain things that I said will be helpful for the HR leaders, HR community. But yeah, it's been great, and just let's keep doing what we're doing. I know HR is going through numerous changes. Businesses are always evolving. Now AI is coming, so we all have to kind of switch gears and see what's AI is bringing for us. How can we again embed and incorporate for us to make our lives easier, and we can pass on that knowledge or experience to the organizations, to leaders as well. So let's just stay tuned and see what's in store. And thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on the perfect route today, and I hope everybody enjoyed our conversation with Riya Sood today. And um, you can check out the podcast landing page at n3ed.com/podcast or your YouTube, Amazon, Apple, or Spotify dashboard and find more episodes of The Perfect Route.